All right, assuming that we have no technical difficulties, we're ready to check out Ṛṣabha Dev's instructions, which are zero fluff, and especially this first part here, which we'll study today, zero fluff critique of sensuality. So up till now, he's just been teaching by his personal example. And then he comes to a place where there happens to be already an assembly of many, many important teachers and many, many regular people as well. So he decides that this is the right time to speak and put it into words. And I got it backwards. Last time I said he's speaking to, I think I said he's speaking to the people assembled in order to teach his sons, but the actual situation is he speaks to his sons, but his sons already know everything he's going to say. They grew up with him. He's speaking to his sons on the, he's educating the people on the pretext of educating his sons. All right, that's a little deal. Now, here we go. Here we go. All right. Deep breath. Let's make this 300, right? That's what we need for the screen. Okay. Ṛṣabha Uvacha. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Does this make it too big? Let's see. Just a minute. You know, little technical things. Oops. That is kind of okay. Let's go. So Ṛṣabha says, Nayam deho deha bhajam niloke kashtan kaman arhate vidbhujam ye tapo divyam putraka yena sattvam Shuddhyedyasmad brahma sokyam tvanantam. This is kind of a super famous verse amongst Vedantists, especially bits and pieces of it. You may not hear the whole thing. But Nayam deho deha bhajam niloke kashtan kaman arhate vidbhujam ye tapo divyam putraka yena sattvam shuddhyed Yasmad Brahma Sokyam Tvanantam. Ṛṣabha said, my sons, a human body does not deserve the difficult pleasures sought by stool-eating pigs. Its struggles should instead be divine, because such struggles reward us with tranquil clarity and inherent bliss. So he's saying a human being doesn't deserve to live like a pig. The word for pig is vidbhuja. Vid, with a classical Indian accent, D. Vidbhujam. That means poop eater. So pigs are known for eating their own poops, which is not just gross. It's not just going for a gross out factor, but it has a metaphorical meaning to it, of trying to enjoy something that you've already tried to enjoy. You already ate food, and then the excrement of it, you eat it again. It's also called punarcharvita charvanana, to eat something that's already been eaten. That's a metaphor for our adventures in sensuality. We've already done it. And it already didn't work. It already produced garbage. And now we're stuck with the garbage, trying to enjoy the garbage. So humans don't deserve to live like pigs. They're humans. And the other interesting thing that he says is he calls the pleasures kashta. Kashta kama. Kashta means a pain in the ass. Difficult, stressful, heavy, burdensome, rough. Difficult pleasures. So in other words, a pleasure that doesn't come easy, a pleasure that makes you dependent upon something, a pleasure that you have to seek out, a pleasure that you have to work for, a pleasure that you have to get, then it has a side effect. And the side effect lasts longer than the pleasure. Those kind of pleasures. He says human beings don't deserve those kind of pleasures that the pigs chase. So it's a simple way he's saying stool is gross, pigs eat it, humans shouldn't be like that. But the metaphor is things which you've already tried to do and which have caused you only trouble. You shouldn't keep trying to enjoy those things again and again and again. You deserve better than that. Because you're a human. Human beings have another faculty. The additional faculty of the human is to understand verbal language. That's the primary differentiation between the human animal and the other ones. Which is quite important because knowledge is transmitted in words. And therefore, by understanding language, we can understand the Vedas. So that's why he says, instead of seeking the pleasures of pigs, human beings should, do tapa. Kashta or tapa, neither of them is relaxing. Whether you're pursuing sensuality or you're pursuing spirituality, neither of them is lazy. Both of them involve work and effort and struggle. But the thing is, the result of sensual adventure is headaches, sickness, illness, stress, all of a sudden finding that all your money is gone, etc., etc., etc. Whereas the result of spiritual stress and endeavor and effort is, it works. He says that you'll get sattvam shuddhyat. Sattvam shuddhyat, it means that you get clarified. You get clear. You get unmuddied. You get unconfused. You get clarity. And from that clarity, yasmad, brahmasokyam, you get happiness, pleasure, which is what you were trying to get by eating the stool. But now you get pleasure of Brahman Ananda, Brahmananda, Brahmasokyam. So you get the happiness of Brahman. So when the sattva becomes Shuddha, then you get Brahma Ananda. When you get clarified and you get clarity, then you start to see what's what. And you start to see what's attractive and what's not attractive, and what's desirable and what's not desirable accurately. You start to see what's pleasurable and not pleasurable accurately. You start to see that Brahman, or consciousness, is the whole foundation for every single pleasure that can possibly exist. So the most important, attractive, pleasurable, etc. thing is Brahman, consciousness. So you direct your effort, your attention and your energy to Brahman. You start to enjoy Brahman. But Brahman is something that requires no effort. It's infinite. It's eternal, it's infinite, it's boundless, it's undifferentiable. You don't have to do anything to experience it. It is the root of experience. So there's no stress, no kashta. And that's why it's anantam. It doesn't end or have boundaries. You understand? So he opens up, his opening statement is to present a big split. And what he says is everybody wants happiness. But humans should be able to figure out the way to actually achieve it. It's not by pursuing sensuality, which causes stress. It's by trying to be clear about yourself and therefore coming into contact with the basis of happiness, which is inherent within yourself. Do you understand? Have any questions about this? The rest of his thing is going to be based on this. He's going to talk about how to... So he's presenting a fork in the road. And the next thing he's going to do is explain how you get onto one of those forks or the other. Any questions? Samurai understands. The mama. All right. So we don't have to do anything. No, you have to do tapa. You have to do tapa. You have to make efforts. But divya tapa, you have to make efforts towards the divinity. Just like you have to make efforts towards the rich man to get his money, you have to make efforts towards divinity to get Brahmasokya. You always have to make efforts towards the object that you wish of desire, towards the goal. You have to make progress towards the goal. So he's going to explain next what are the efforts on the road, or how do you get on the road that goes to Brahmasokya rather than the road that goes to Vitsokya. Poop happiness. Having awakened faith. Okay, let's go on. The next verse is a big heavy one. Mahat sevam dvaram ahur vimuktes tamo dvaram yoshitam sangi sangam mahantaste samachita prashanta vimanyava suhrida sadhavo ye. The liberating gate is to honor the great. The dark gate is the company of those who want to enjoy women. Great people are equal-minded, pacifying, angerless, endeared, and see good in others. So he presents a dichotomy of this fork in the road. And then he says there's a gate to each road. If you want to get on road A, then make sure you take gate A. And if you want to get on road B, then take gate B. And it's very simple what the gate is. Connect yourself to a person that's already on the road that you want to be on. That's his thing. He says the gate that goes to Vimukti, freedom, liberation, Brahmasokya, that you get association with the Mahat, a person that's in Brahman, a person that's on that path. And the way of that association is Seva, Mahat Seva. You honor, respectful association. If you want pig happiness, then you go hang out with the people that want that. And it's described as Yoshitam Sangi Sangam. So Yoshita is a word that means female. But the basis for the word is attractive. So the reason why females are described as Yoshita is because they're pretty. So it literally means people that want to enjoy women. So it doesn't mean women, it means men, usually, that are just obsessed with having sex with women. The women themselves aren't the problem. It's the attitude towards the women that this is the object of enjoyment. But that's the literal meaning, and the reason why it's meant that is it means people considering external things attractive. It's finding yoshita in the external thing, attraction to the external thing. If you want to go down that road, then have sangha with those people. You understand? You might think, should I be offended? If you're a woman, there's no need to be offended. But if you're a sensualist, then you can be offended, whether you're a male or a female. But the thing is, you would probably be more offended if you're a male, if you look at this, if you read it right. Because Yoshita Sangi is not a female in 90% of the time, of the cases. Right. So it means the people who are convinced that their happiness lies in sex. It's going to be clear that that's really what he's talking about. And the other stuff that we pursue are the decorations and facilitations for the sex. A bed would be nice. And a room for the bed. And some food to eat so we have energy for what we want to do in the bed. And then maybe clothes to make us look nice and jewelry and things like that. That would be also good. Well, okay, so now money. Damn, I need a lot of money. Now also I need weapons because that guy over there who didn't work to get what I have wants that shit that I have, and he's going to come and kick my ass and take it and also take my woman. So I better get weapons. Okay, so this is what he means by vit pujam. You just wanted to have sex. But now you have to have weapons, houses, clothes, money, food, all that stuff. So those people that get so obsessed with thinking that is the way to get happiness. I better go to school. Yes, I'm human. Animals don't go to school. Why are you going to school? Because you need to learn how to use your weapons and make the money so that you get a bed with food and a lockable door. That's why. So it's simple. This is also what Rupa Goswami describes as the gate for bhakti also. It just all depends upon who you hang out with. Because of the way the relationship works, consciousness works, it acclimatizes itself to its environment. Our identity is based upon our environment. The identity forms in terms of what we are related to. So if you put yourself in an environment of people that are sensualists, you're not going to wind up traveling on the road of spirituality. You'll be pulled towards the road without great effort. You'll be pulled towards the road of sensualists because the consciousness acclimatizes and assumes the identity of the things that surround it. So the effort, the main effort in the first stage of spirituality is to get connections, social networking, is to get connections, to have people that you can connect with that are interested in the path that you want to be interested in. Okay? Jonathan asks, probably missing something important, but Brahman is also the basis of all negative or unpleasant or painful experiences, isn't it? It is. Just like if you have light But if I put a blue plastic screen over the light, then all of a sudden I would look all blue. Or if I put yellow, it would look yellowish, right? Or if I put a big curtain in front of the light, then there wouldn't be very much light coming through. So Brahman, or consciousness, is like light. But the guna creates avidya, which is translucent to opaque, and affects the quality of the Brahman consciousness coming through it. So the mind, with its scars, some scars and vasanas, impressions, it distorts and colors the light that comes through it from the consciousness. And so the ignorance causes non-awareness of what the self actually is, and therefore non-awareness of where happiness actually comes from. And that's what causes efforts which are unnecessary, and that's what causes distress. All right? And then he describes the qualities of the mahats. How would you know a person that's really going to open the door for you to get into the road, to get into that branch of life which goes towards this Brahman happiness? How would you know it? He says, samachitta. They're equal-minded. They're not highly biased. They're okay with things. Prashanta. They're pacifying. They don't tend to aggravate, agitate, irritate. It's just the opposite. They tend to placate, pacify, calm things, calm people. Vimanyava. They don't get angry, and this also implies they don't have big, indurable pride. Surhrida. They're endeared. That means they like people and they love people easily. They feel affection towards people easily. And sadhava. Sadhava, you can take it to just be a simple noun meaning a sadhu, a good person. But he already said mahant, which is this like a synonym, a great person. So the actual meaning of sadhava is somebody who sees good. So they have kind of a positive opinion of people. They don't focus on negative things. Okay. Let's see what this note is. Yeah. Note, humans may pursue conventional pleasure or spiritual pleasure. The gate which induces a person to pursue conventional pleasure is the company of those who pursue it. Duh. Similarly, the gate which induces a person to pursue spiritual pleasure is the company of those who pursue that. It's very simple. Ṛṣabha describes those who pursue conventional pleasures as those who want women. The term for women, yoshit, implies something beautiful and desirable, so he's indicating those who desire beautiful sensual experiences, and women are the apex of that for humans. He describes those who pursue spiritual pleasures as equal, calm, affectionate, and generous. Equal. You see, people that are yoshitsangi, they're not nice. They're not nice. They're very selfish. They're not even nice to the women that they desire. They're very, very injurious to the women that they desire. So don't think even... You might think if you're Yoshi, you might think, I need Yoshita. Otherwise nobody will value me. Actually, the sadhu will value you much more than the Yoshita. The Yoshita is just trying to exhaust you. And use up all your beauty. Okay, third statement. Ye va mai she krita soridarta. Ye va mai. Here we go. Ye va mai she krita soridarta. Janeshu de hambara vartikeshu. Griheshu jayatma jarati matsu. Na priti yukta yavad artas chaloke. That seems to have one extra syllable. Na priti yukta yavad artas chaloke. Oh well. Those who want to forge a relationship with me, the Divine Master, have only appropriate affection, not deep love, for common people obsessed with physical health and their ambitions for property, sex, and offspring. So here's the question. You said, like, let's say that you were Ṛṣabha's son, and you hear Ṛṣabha say this. So then you might raise your hand and say, Pop, you said that the people on the spiritual path get on that path because they get a respectful connection to somebody on the path. And they don't have that kind of attitude towards people that are on the other path, right? So are you saying that they don't have a respectful attitude towards people that are not on the spiritual path? They only have a respectful attitude for those that are on the spiritual path? Are you saying that? But then you said that there's samachitta. They're equal-minded. And you said that they're sadhava, they see good in people. And surid, they like people. So if they like people and see good in people, why would they be rejecting the company of the asadu or the asat? Why would they be rejecting the company of the materialist? Yet if they don't reject the company of the materialist, how are they on the spiritual path? So if you were listening and you were smart, you might have that query. You should always try to make the things that you hear from Bhagavatam or elsewhere practical, and imagine if you were actually trying to actually do it. Like if you were going to follow this instruction in 1 hour, what would you need to know so that you don't get it wrong? Then you'll come up with these kind of questions. And so Ṛṣabha is addressing that question now. What's the relationship between a spiritually inclined person and the non-spiritually inclined? So he says that yavad artas, na priti yukta yavad artas chaloke. For the regular people in the regular world, yavad arta means as much as is right, as is proper. It's improper to have disrespect. A sadhu isn't disrespectful. A good person isn't disrespectful. A sadhu is loving and sees good in people. Yavad artas, as much as possible, as much as they can, as much as is right or befitting. Priti yukta, they have love and they express affection for them, not more than is appropriate, arta, not more than is real, not artificial. And also, yavad artas means in the way that is appropriate. Like a mother with a child playing on the sidewalk has appropriate affection in grabbing that child harshly and pulling her away from the curb before she runs off into the street and gets hit by a car, right? But that particular action of grabbing somebody harshly and pulling them is not kind. It looks even a little bit violent. But it's yavad arta, it's an appropriate expression of the affection to that person in that circumstance. Similarly, the sadhu or the person who is spiritual, they have great affection for everybody, but they don't express it in the same way for everybody because not everybody's doing the same thing. The people who are moving towards divinity, they express it with great respect and honor. The people that are moving away from divinity, they may express it with a punishment. They may express it with a slap. They may express it with a critique. They may express it by just keeping their distance and shutting up and letting them be. So they have appropriate affection, but not deep love. That translation might be a little bit misleading compared to the way that I just explained it. And so he says this is for the common people, and the common people are known by their qualities. So the Mahats, they were known by their qualities of having an equal mind, for example, and being friendly and everything. The Janeshu, the common person, is known by these qualities. They Hambaravartakeshu, what they really care about is their physical health. Oh my God. Physical health is the number one obsession. People take yoga and turn it into a physical health issue. They're obsessed with their physical health because their physical body is the basis for everything that they want to do in the bed, which is in a room which has a lockable door and a security camera. So they really are obsessed with dehambara, how they take care of their body. Oh my God. And they're obsessed with their ambitions, their rati. They're not actually obsessed with jaya and atmaja. Jaya and atmaja means your spouse and your kids. The materialistic person is not obsessed with their spouse and their kids. They're obsessed with themselves and what they want from their wife and their kids, and what they want and expect and require their wife or husband and kids to be. Otherwise, you get cut off. Goodbye, disowned, divorced. So don't think that spiritualists are cold-hearted and materialists are warm-hearted. Materialists will love you because you have nice boobies. Materialists will not love you for that. As soon as they sag, you are on the sidewalk. Spiritualists don't care if your rack is up to par. And therefore, they have samachitta. They love you equally, regardless of whether you are dressed right or dressed wrong, look right or look wrong, have the right jokes or don't have the right jokes, are cool or uncool. They don't care. So it's a problem that we have, that we think that we are going to get love and affection from people that are needy. You're not going to get love and affection from people that are needy. You're going to get love and affection from people who are fulfilled. You only will get love and affection from an enlightened person. They're the only person capable of giving love and affection. The rest of the people just want to suck us dry because they're desperate for survival. Thanks, Laura. Okay, so he says, yeah. So he said the end goal, he's also specifying that the end goal of the road, like at the right fork with the Brahmasokya, the end goal is Maishe Krita Sodadartha. They're trying, the people that are on the spiritual path are not really different than the people that are on the material path. It's just the concept of what would give pleasure is the really only thing which is different. And the concept for the spiritual person is, because they have some clarity by the tapas, by the divya tapa, they realize that the happiness itself is it's not based on my body health. Just as important as we think our body health is, because if you're sick, you can't have a pizza. And if you're sick, you can't eat ice cream, so it's not fun to be sick. You can't have sex when you're hooked up to a ventilator. So stay healthy. Right, so that's why we are dehambara. We're so obsessed with maintaining our physical body, because our physical body is the basis of our sensual pleasure. So the same exact principle is that Brahman or consciousness is the basis of actual pleasure. Experience. Brahman is consciousness, the basis for experience. Is it not? Do you have to get tripped out and live in a cave to understand that? You don't. You can just turn on YouTube for 3 seconds and hear this statement, and it should make sense to you. Consciousness is the basis for experience. Pleasure is a kind of experience. So really, what's more important than your physical health is your consciousness. So rather than the endeavor to keep maintaining physical health, the most compelling and important thing for a person who has that clarity is the endeavor to strengthen and clarify one's consciousness. And get in touch with it and know what it is and experience the world from it rather than from an extension of it. So they seek relationship with the basis of the consciousness, which is Paramatma or Ishvara. Just like the materialist seeks relationship, like Borat seeks relationship with Pamela Anderson. Because Pamela Anderson is Yoshit and Borat is Yoshit Sangi. With the same honest, fervent naivety that... it's not naivety. With the same honest, fervent abandon that Borat seeks Pamela Anderson, the spiritualist seeks to make some kind of actual tangible relationship with the Paramatma, the Ishvara, the basis of the entity from which is the basis for consciousness. Those people, however, because they love the Paramatma, they love everybody. Because they love the super soul, they love all the souls. But in a way which is appropriate. That's the point. Okay? Borat. I love Borat. That was one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen in my life, that show. Okay. That movie. Was it a show also? It was just a movie. The other one was a show. Ali G. Oh my God. Sacha Baron Cohen is a genius. All right, number 4. The fourth statement. Now Ṛṣabha... Oh, let's just review what he said so far. He said, look, you can... He said, human beings don't deserve to eat stool like a pig. And the metaphor there is, you don't deserve to try to get happiness out of something that has already caused garbage. You've already tried to enjoy this and it already resulted in stress. But you keep trying now to enjoy the stress so that you can still have access to this thing that was enjoyable for 5 seconds. You don't deserve to live like that because you could do something better because you're a human. And you understand language, so you can access the Vedas, so you can understand what to do with Tapadivya. How to make spiritual progress. So why don't you do that? Because if you could do spiritual progress, you could get a happiness which is effortless and infinite and doesn't produce any stress. And then he says, so there's these 2 forks. You can go towards the shitter, or you could go towards the power generator. You could go towards sensuality, or you could go towards consciousness. The root of sensuality in the first place. Then he says, if you want to go left, then associate with people on the left that are going left. You get pulled by the flow. And if you want to go right, then associate with people that are going right. And people that have gone right. And then he just explains how to notice the difference between the two. Basically, this one is obsessed with maintaining their body, and this one is obsessed with making a deeper connection to the consciousness and the root of the consciousness. And how does this person on this path feel about those people on that path? They love them, but not inappropriately. They always love appropriately. Yes, Jonathan, that is also true. That's what also he means by Yavadarta. So Jonathan says, but we can also devote our physical health to connecting to Paramatma. That's what he's also saying with Yavadartas. They love the people that are doing their obsessions with the physical health, etc., yavad artas, as much as is required chaloke for the world to exist. So they also pursue the things that the materialists pursue. A spiritual Brahman, or consciousness, is going to include sensuality. But sensuality doesn't include Brahman, or consciousness. That's the big difference. Brahman is consciousness. Consciousness is experience. What are your senses? They're tools for experience. But they're just tools that are pointing out. That's the reason why they're not the primary means. But Brahman will certainly include the experience of the senses. So the person who is a Brahmavadi, a person who's going towards Brahman, they will also maintain their body and pursue some sense gratification. Because it's necessary. If they don't eat, they'll die. You want to meditate, you want to read the Vedas, you want to learn? Well, yeah, I think you need to be alive for that. And if you're in a coma or whatever, if you're dead, I think it's going to be hard to do any yoga or meditation, etc., isn't it? Yep. So you also have to do this eating, making a room, getting a house, defending it, maybe from somebody else that might come and want to take it from you. So there's a minimal amount of materialism that needs to be done also. Okay, now the fourth one. Nunam pramatta krute. Now. Oh, now. Okay, it hasn't come up yet. Nunam pramatta krute vikarma yad indriya pritaya apranoti nasadu manye yata atmano yam asannapi kleshada asadeha. I think it is not good to dedicate ourselves to what our senses love. This immediately intoxicates us, causing us to do irresponsible things, which eventually result in suffering. And all this for a body that is not fully real? So he says, I don't think it's a good idea to make our motivation, our apranota, indriya priya. We shouldn't make our motivation the things that our senses love. We should take care of our senses enough to keep them working and happy and at ease. But I don't think that we should make our ambition and our motive and our goal just to acquire the things that they want. Because nunam pramatta, the objects of senses have an immediate capacity to intoxicate. Everybody knows that. You know, you stop thinking straight when you get in the vicinity of something that pulls on your senses very strongly. Why would people do stupid things if this wasn't the case? You know that the lust distorts the intellect. All of a sudden, the thing that you thought would be wrong to do is not wrong to do anymore. It's okay. Because X, Y, Z, 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 Y, 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 X, Y, A, B, C. So what he's saying is, I don't think it's a good idea to pursue the goals of sensuality, because that kind of a dedication makes us pramatta. And from pramatta means intoxicated, obsessed. And from that obsession comes vikarma. We do irresponsible things. And from the irresponsible things that were done, yata, we get klesha. Klesha is suffering. And the whole thing is for a deha, or some experience in some sensual thing in some body, that is asat. Asat means not real, or at least not permanent. Like when you live in an apartment, you treat it different than when you own your own house. Why? Because you're going to leave the apartment soon. You know that. When you're in a hotel room, you treat it differently than you treat your apartment. Why? Because you're leaving right away. If you're a tour person and you tour through a town, your relationship to the people and things in that town is very different than if you lived there. How come? Because you're leaving soon. Well, guess what? Yesterday, I was 15. And today, I'm 52. And tomorrow, I'm dead. I'm in a hotel room. You're in a hotel room. You shouldn't throw, piss all over your hotel room because you got to sleep there for the night. You should take care of it as much as required for the fact that you're going to be there tonight. But it's not your house. You shouldn't go hire somebody to come and redecorate your hotel room. Okay, so he has a thing, and Samurai, and thank you, Laura, by the way. And Samurai, this is also, you just recently sent an email, you noticed this in Bhakti Rasamrita, just into this principle that he's talking about here, this 3-step thing of suffering. That if there's pramata, or confusion in the concept, then there becomes a confusion in the desire. And when there's a confusion in the desire, then there's a confusion in the activity. And when there's confusion in the activity, then there's confusion in the result. And that is suffering. That means sometimes there's bad results. So that's what he's saying here. I don't think we should pursue the things which make us confused and intoxicated. Because when we get confused and intoxicated, we do things that we really shouldn't have done, that we really wouldn't do if we were clear and calm. And when we do that, then we get these repercussions, which make us suffer. I don't think we should do that. I mean, really, how many times have you gone to Las Vegas and stayed up till 4 o'clock in the morning, taking drugs, drinking, whatever else you want to do, and knowing, that you're going to wake up the next day, like that movie. What is it? Is it Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas? Or no, it's The Hangover. The name of the movie is The Hangover. Like, that next thing is going to come. But we do not care. We don't care. Why? Because pramata, the thing which is so enjoyable, is right in front of my face. I want that thing right now. And because of the myopicness and the magnification of the intensity of the pleasure that's right there, right available to it, I don't even notice anymore what's right behind the pleasure. The pain, the suffering that's right behind the pleasure. This stupidity can happen to anyone and everyone. It doesn't matter what your IQ is. It doesn't matter how much you studied. It doesn't matter how spiritual you are either. This will happen to everybody and anybody. Alf had a question which the YouTube doesn't like. YouTube is like really prude. Should we still pursue sex after children have been produced? Sex has 2 purposes. One is production of kids. The other is pleasure, and it's mutual pleasure, so it forms bond. So it really depends on the person and what you need. At Yavad Arta, as much as required, as much as you need. But when you pursue sex as if it is the goal, as if it is the thing that you actually want, then you will be pramata and you'll get off track. Thank you, Devana. Is it our karma that we continue to get pulled into sensual pleasures? Suraj asks. Yes, it is. That's what he's saying by the word yata. Yata means things which have passed. So he's saying in the past, as a result of the mistaken karmas, the vikarmas from the past, you get kleshas in the present, and as a result of the kleshas in the present, you get further off balance towards vikarmas. So I'll give you a real example. this opposite sex person or whatever attractive person was so attractive, and they were available, and they made themselves available to you, and you jumped on it literally. However, you happen to be married, unfortunately. And so, what's the situation the next day? The situation the next day is that there's klesha. Now you have distress. And with that klesha, you have to maintain it. You have to maintain or now manage the klesha. You have to not let that klesha expand. You have to contain this and lie about it. So, and then this other person calls you. Oh no, they don't want this klesha to be contained. Because for them, it's not a klesha maybe. So now you're sucked into action that's pertaining to the one previous action that you did, which was irresponsible. Now you have to maintain the irresponsibility, and you will do further irresponsible deeds. Now you maybe will say, fuck you, stop calling me, which is another irresponsible action to this other person. Or you may start lying to your family, which is another irresponsible action. So this is called the proliferation of the parampara of asat. It's the proliferation of wickedness. One wicked thing produces two wicked things, which produce 4, which produce 16, which produce 256. But the good news is that one good thing produces 2, which produce 4, which produce 16. All right. That's cool. My green screen is cool. I just noticed that my hand is going over the text in the background. All right. Parabhavas tavad abhodajato yavanna jignyasata atma tattvam yavat kriyas tavadidam manovai karmatmakam yena sharira bandha. As this verse has a lot of this yavat tavat, which is a beautiful Sanskrit mechanism which English doesn't have. It's we have something like it where we say as long as blah 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 blah, or as much as blah 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 blah. That's this yavat tavat thing, but we don't have we just have as much as. We don't have like the other saying, but in Sanskrit they have yavat tavat, yatta tatta, yat tat. So there's 2 of those here. So he's saying as long as or as much as we are subdued by ignorance. Maybe it's opposite. I may have gotten this opposite. This is yat tut. No, it's tut yat. Sorry. Tut tut yat yat. So as much as we are subdued by ignorance, a Bodha. You know Buddha? Buddha means the person that's enlightened. Abud or abod means the person that is ignorant. Parabhava, defeat by a Buddha, defeated by ignorance. Tavat, as much as we are defeated by ignorance, then yavat, na jignyasa atma tattvam. This is a weird catch-22. As much as we are defeated by ignorance, we won't have any jigyasa for Atma Tattva. We won't have any curiosity about the truth of ourself, Atma Tattva. As much as we are subdued by ignorance, all of our curiosity is absorbed into the ignorance. Instead, we're interested in the length of our eyelashes, the thickness of the hairs in our armpits, the depth of the lines in the corners of our eyes, the number of furrows upon our brow, or other concerns, the size of the bicep, the size of the hip, That's all that we care about. All of our jignasa is absorbed into that. So as much as we're confused by ignorance, to that extent, we don't have any natural curiosity for Atma Tattva, what the true aspects of the self is. Yavat kriyas tavat idam manovai karmatmakam yena sharira bandha. As much as we engage in ignorant deeds, that much our minds become tied and bound by our bodies. So it's the lack of curiosity about the true self which causes us to invest in a distorted or unrealish concept of self. And as much as we invest in a distorted or unrealish concept of self, then we engage in deeds which benefit that. And those deeds make that thing more and more important. The more that we try to support our temporary existence, like if you're in the hotel, back to the hotel room example, the more that you try to research what room designer is best for your hotel room and what materials should be used, the more you get invested in upgrading your hotel room, the less you have energy, time, space to think about what's going on outside the hotel room. The more that your whole consciousness, your whole mind, and all your thoughts gets limited, more and more tied in more and more to the boundaries of your hotel and your room in the hotel. Thank you, Susan. So let's see what Devin is. Let's see, some people are saying things. Oh shoot, reconnected. Just pay, my advice to Suraj is just pay attention. Bhagavatam always answers the questions that it presents. And if you're not finding it answered, you can ask. And if I didn't answer your question, you can ask again. Like if I met a Virgo ascendant with a well-placed Venus and Mercury aspect in the first house, I don't know what he's talking about. Davana. In other words, our ignorance is concomitant with a lack of curiosity. I would think that would be kind of what you're saying here. Well, it's the curiosity will end the ignorance. But the curiosity is suppressed by our curiosity for other things. This is why you have to hang out with people, so to speak, who have the curiosity. Then you acclimatize to that curiosity. That's why it's good to do a Bhagavatam stream on YouTube, so people can hang out with each other and not distract each other from that curiosity. How could we explain these things to our kids? You just use simple examples. Use the right examples. You're not going to use an example of adultery for your kid, but you could use your example of stealing their friend's candy. It's the same thing. Kids and adults are the same, but they just have different specifics of how it's expressed. Laura, if you have a nice hotel room, let me know. See, that's all we care about. We just care about the hotel rooms. All right. We'll continue. We got like 2 more or 3 more. Now here comes a heavy one. Evam mana karma vasam prayunkte avidyayatman upadhiyamane pritirnayavan mai vasudeve Na muchyate deha yogena tavad. A mind thus controlled by karma enjoins an ignorance that reinforces the identification of self with incidentals. As much as there is no love for me, Vasudev, to that extent, there is no release from this unification with bodily circumstances. Keep your mind focused on this. He's going to explain why. Don't let your mind get out of your control right now. A mind thus controlled by karma. So what he said is, we don't have curiosity of the true self because our curiosity is absorbed in our other obsessions, and that implicates us in a chain of activities which binds us and restricts our mind to those activities. Now he's saying that the mind restricted into the sensual field gets enjoined, prayunkta, into karma vasham. It's controlled by karma, so it gets enjoined into avidya of upadhi. And it becomes upadhi yamane. So what's an upadhi is an interesting thing. You have to understand upadhi. Upadhi is something which is added. Upa means something that's brought in. And D means to your concept. D is the concept. Thought is a D. Upadhi means something which is brought into the concept. It means something which is not inherent to this thing, but something which is brought in. So upadhi, for example, PhD is an upadhi. DR is an upadhi. MS is an upadhi. MR is an upadhi. On your name, literally. When you say like, Dr. What's his name? Dr. David Frawley. Doctor is the upadhi. Actually, the name itself is an upadhi also. But if we accept the name as being the actual swarup, then the doctor part is the upadhi. It's something extra that's been added later. For some of these doctors, we don't really know who added them, who added the upadhi. So he's saying that the Atma will get, what did he say? It identifies with the upadhis. So what's Atma? Atma is consciousness, or the sense of I. The word I, the pronoun I, is Atma. The thing that the pronoun I refers to is Atma, self. But I, unless you're a Rastafarian, it's difficult to just say I by itself. Usually we say I am something. And so that part, that am something, is the upadhi that's being introduced to the basic thing I. So I am fat. I am ugly. I am beautiful. I am fit. Different upadhis that can be plugged on to the I. I am American. I am Indian. I am Hindu. I am Jain. I am a Kali Bhakta. So the mind is going to get pulled into believing that the I part is not on the left side of the verb, it's on the right side of the verb. The mind will get pulled into believing that the upadhi is the I. Fatness is me. I'm not fat. I am fat. This is not a condition which can be plugged in or plugged off me. This is me. I am female. I am male. I am black. I am brown. I am yellow. These are not, we will begin to think that this upadhi isn't the upadhi is the I. And we start to act as if that upadi was the most important thing, when actually the most important thing is the I, to which the upadi can plug in to become meaningful. But the mind will pull itself more towards the upadi the more that it invests in the things which serve the upadi. I'm a male, so I want an exercise machine. I'm a female, so I want good cosmetics. The more that we give our heart to the things which serve the upadi, the more that we think the upadi is the true self. So the more off space bug, you got it. He's really, really ripping a hole in the ignorance. He's really calling us out. So yeah. So it's pulling us off balance. And as you know, if you study any martial arts ever, off balance is what you do not want to be. You never want to be off balance because you've no footing, doesn't matter how strong you are. When you're off balance, you're weak. So if the mind and the conception and the soul is off balance by being pulled into an upadi, you are weak. You're going to be subject to death and decay. Now, he explains, yes, Yavad Artha, Bardo, this is in relation to what Bardo just typed in. Yavad Artha, the upadi has meaning. It's not meaningless. This is just going way too far the other way. I am not my body is way too far the other way. Your body is your upadi. Whether or not you're black, white, whether or not you're male, female, whether or not you're fat, thin, is not meaningless. It has meaning. It's a part of you and how you are expressing yourself here, now, in the moment. But it is not you. You are the thing which is giving importance to the upadis, not the other way around. And so Yavad Artha, we should take care of the upadis as much as is reasonable, considering that they are not the focus of reality. They're the periphery of the reality, of who we are. Well, Laura, you donated twice. Thank you, Laura. As much as now, the second thing is important. Pritirna yavan mai vasudeve namunchte deha yogena tavat. So it's another yavat tavat thing. Now he says namunchate deha yoga. You won't get out of your body yoga. Deha yoga. Do you know what yoga really means? Yoga really means to unify or to couple. Yuk means to you. So to couple things is the root meaning of yoga. And Deha yoga means this coupling or unification with the body. The coupling or the unification to the upadi. We won't get out of it. Namunchate. You can't get it off. Muncha. Get it off. You can't get it off. You can get it off in as much as you have Vasudev Priti. If there's any Vedantists, which I know there's some of you, you might be spitting up your coffee right now because it doesn't sound right. You probably are used to hearing something else. As much as we don't have Vasudev Priti, a love for Vasudev, then you can't get rid of the obsession with the body. Now he's going to explain why. So you might think, why is love required? Isn't it knowledge? Isn't knowledge a thing required? I mean, the identification of the I with the upadi happened because of the ignorance of the self, right? It was not jignasata atma tattva. No inquisitiveness into the true self causes us to be very inquisitive about the addendums and appendices to the self. So that curiosity with the addendum is based on our lack of knowledge. So wouldn't it be acquisition of knowledge that would liberate us from our obsession with the upadis? The next statement answers that knowledge alone cannot overcome feelings. Don't be unreal. Be real. What that guy? Be real. Wow, he's not famous anymore, is he? Be real. Be real, folks. Knowledge does not overcome feelings. Otherwise, how would this whole mess happen in the first place? Feelings overcome knowledge. That's why when the pleasure is right in front of our face, our sense of right and wrong distorts. Feelings are more powerful than knowledge. The moon is a lot brighter than Mercury. So, by knowledge alone, yes, knowledge will liberate you from your obsession with your upadi. So we should pursue knowledge. But what Ṛṣabha is going to say is, good luck with that. Because as soon as your knowledge gets challenged by your emotions, your knowledge is going to flush itself down the toilet. And you're going to be swept away by your emotions. So it's not until the knowledge can produce emotion directed towards spirituality. That's why you cannot just have the sense of, I want to go down this road for knowledge. It's not compelling. It's very vapid. You have to see the being who is the source of the consciousness, with whom you can you can make a relationship with the being. Then you can have a target for emotion. It's only that emotion, which is called bhakti, which can overcome this force that pulls consciousness and distorts knowledge. Yep. Of course, now 7. So 7, he's going to say that yada na pashyat yatha guneham svarte pramata sahasa vipaschit. Vipaschit means a very wise person. Gatasmartir vindati tatra tapan asadya maitunyam agaram agya. When we don't see our true self-interest, desires for sensual experiences will immediately proliferate and intoxicate even a learned person. All of their principles and knowledge forgotten, they achieve misery by getting encaged in sexuality. So he said, as far as you have affection for Vasudeva, the being who emanates the consciousness, that much affection you have for Vasudeva is the ability that is exactly equivalent to the ability you have to get free from obsession with upadis on yourself. Why isn't it knowledge that would give you the ability to get free? Because knowledge will only give you the ability to get free for as long as you can hold on to that knowledge clearly. So that he says, if you don't see swa-artha, then you won't be able to hold on to that knowledge. Swa-artha means money. Artha means health, wealth, prosperity. Swa means the true self-wealth, the true self self-interest, the true self-prosperity, if we don't see that there is such a thing, if you just think upadhis are illusion, form is illusion, sound is illusion, color is illusion, words are illusion, I am nothing, it's all nothing. What feelings do you have? You have absolutely no feelings, and that's your goal. How will you maintain having absolutely no feelings? It will take you many, many, many lifetimes to finally get to a situation where you can maintain it without disturbance and enter it eternally, which means you blink out of existence. That's a wonderful goal. You have to blink out of existence, because if you have your existence, then you will have your desires. So that's not really the most inspiring goal, at least not in my opinion. So what Ṛṣabha is saying is, if we see our self-interests in Vasudeva, then we get that same motivation that a sensualist has for their self-interest in a piece of pizza. Like when you're bored and the pizza is on the table, you love it and you go for it. That same self-interest principle that ignites and inspires has to be there spiritually. Otherwise, the spiritual path is very weak. So as far as we cannot see our swarartha, then we will be pramata. We'll be intoxicated by gunaiham, the desire to enjoy external, peripheral experiences. Guna, the qualities of things, rather than the thing itself. That pramata will sahasa vipaschit, will overcome the vipaschit, the wise person's sahasa, immediately. Gata smriti, all of the principles that they have, the smriti, gata, finished. Vindati, that's what they get. They get gata smriti. Tatrapan, and then they have to suffer maitunyam. Then they think that the joining, mituna, Gemini. Gemini means two guys coupling, two people coupling. Mituna. Maituna means sexuality, couplingness. Things coupling together, the joining of things. Then the wise person will think that for me to stick my consciousness, my bristling consciousness, into this juicy object of perception is the absolute goal. And agaram, they get encompassed by that. And agara means a home. So remember that thing I was saying before? We just want to put our consciousness into something juicy, or basically. But that simple desire means we need a place to do it, we need health for it, we need security, etc., etc., etc. So it ends up we need a room with furniture, we need a house with a door. That's what agara means. Maitunyam agaram. It will just build this whole thing. That all of a sudden this wise person who was studying the Vedas is now all of a sudden just figuring out how to pay his rent. And what do you achieve by it? Tapa. You just achieve troubles. That's the problem. There would be no problem if it would produce what we wanted from it. But it doesn't. And why not? Because it's not from a place of realness. It's from the place of the upadhi trying to enjoy and be the central figure. I think we know. Oh, that's the end. All right. Where does not? Oh, let me see. There's something hidden. What do you do about the things in which you're off balance? Isn't he explaining that? Find people that are less off balance and spend time with them respectfully. That will pull you more and more into balance, because you'll start behaving the way they do and thinking the way they do and having the curiosities that they do. Where does awareness fit in with knowledge and emotion? I think maybe I have to define the word awareness. Awareness is kind of the perception, isn't it? The consciousness is like awareness. Consciousness is the basis for knowledge and emotion. Some people want a scenic route, Bardo says, but maybe some had it and are ready to drop it off for good. Yes, but the principle is always the same. But the amount of intensity. So the more that you go down one, remember the whole thing that Ṛṣabha did from the beginning was set up this concept of a fork in the path for a human being. And towards the early bit of the fork, there isn't that much difference between the people. But the more that you go down the fork, the more the distance becomes different. So the more that a person has traveled down a particular fork, the more they will be characteristic of that fork. So it's not like you immediately have to go and imitate the person who's at the end of the road that you want to be on. You just have to associate with the people that are close by you, and then they'll pull you in that direction. Okay, everybody. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, look at that. We had 47 viewers, 50 viewers. That's more than usual for Bhagavatam. Zero-Fluff critique of sensuality. It's pretty good traction. Thank you so much, Ayo. See you, everybody.